Okay. I'm having this conversation because I posted a video. It was a video. It was a reel. I posted it on my social media, which is why you guys need to be following me on my social media. So I posted this on Instagram. I posted this on TikTok and my YouTube page, where Jasmine Crockett. I'm gonna allow people to speak, but let me monologue to give context. Right, Jasmine Crockett was on some type of panel, and she was talking about how immigrants come over to America and they do the jobs that nobody else wants to do. And I made a video and I said that there are no jobs that for a fair wage and decent conditions and decent benefits that an American citizen would not do. There are no jobs in this country that American citizens are not doing and would not do if they're being paid fairly. And a lot of these jobs, these like low skilled jobs, these unskilled labor jobs, a lot of these jobs kind of undercut, and the statistics and data all backs this. It undercuts Black Americans. All right. It undercuts Black Americans primarily. It does. So them coming over, and it's not just the farm jobs. It's not just that. It's the factory jobs. A lot of that is the factory jobs. A lot of that is the construction jobs. A lot of that is all of that stuff. Right. Um, so it undercuts that. And a lot of that is because these companies, these big corporations, these big farms, these big construction companies, these big companies understand that they get away with illegal employment practices when it comes to immigrants. These immigrants get to come in and they get to get paid under the table, and they get to do a lot of stuff that is illegal. These employers get to do things that they would not be able to get away with if it was a citizen, because we do have labor rights in this country. And these employers get to come in, they get to pay under minimum wage. They don't necessarily pay overtime when they're supposed to. They don't. They make people work off the clock. It's a lot of little stuff that they get away with immigrants, which is why immigrants get preferential treatment when it comes to these jobs. It's not because they're willing to do jobs that we're not willing to do. It's not because they're harder worker people or whatever the case is. You know, now when it comes to the deportation that's going on in this country, a lot of people are sitting up there saying that, oh, well, the food is going to go up because nobody wants to farm. Nobody wants to build houses anymore. Nobody wants to boo up the bam. And that's untrue. And that narrative, especially in the Black community, has been told to us, and that lie has been told to us that justifies illegal labor and illegal immigration. All right. So before I get started, I'm gonna let some people, say what they have to say about it and ask the question. Because if you guys disagree, you guys know you guys can come up and you guys can disagree if you guys want to. But before we get into that, as you guys are coming up, you guys got to mute your mic. All right, you guys got to mute your mic. BX, real quick, I'm using a microphone. Can you hear me clearly?
Very loud and clear. Can you mute Adam?
I'm trying. Hold on 1 second.
All right.
Let me see. Hello?
Yeah,
Can you
I
mute
hear.
for a minute? Is that you, Afro? With the
You
feedback?
you want me to mute? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I want everybody to mute so I can see if it's me or not. Okay. Yes, it might be you, Afro. So I like this topic, right? Because a long time ago, well, maybe 2015, 2016, I read that MLK really wasn't for open borders. And he said that it had the potential to harm, the Negroes and the poor white tea people. Years later, I wanted to read that resource again. I can't find it, right? But a friend of mine, a subscriber of mine, sent me a letter from the Coretta Scott King. And she wrote this letter, I'm going to say, in the late 1980s to Senator Hatch. And she wanted to speak with him so she could talk about the harms of illegal immigration how if they removed a certain protection just to allow the immigrants to work here in the United States, that it would not only drive down wages, that it gave corporations the right to discriminate against Black Americans. It gave them the right to exploit Latinos. She also was touching on how there were over 7 million unemployed at the time, and that it would be better suited to put them to work before you bring in the illegal immigrants. So I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people use our activists, our ancestors, our greats, to suit their narrative, not knowing there's a whole nother side that they spoke for. And I think that using Coretta Scott King's a letter, her own words show that she was asking for them to fix the system since back then, and today it still doesn't seem like it's fixed. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good point. The problem's only. So let me ask you a question real quick. You hear me clearly when nobody else is talking, but when other people talking, you hear the feedback in the microphone, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna just mute when other people talking then, so there's no feedback. But the problem has only gotten a lot worse. And I'm glad that you're bringing up that this happened back in the 1960s. We understood that this is a big problem. Okay. And for too long, we've been manipulated into believing that farm labor, physical labor, these are things that Americans just are unwilling to do and just wouldn't do, no matter how good the benefits or pay is, but it needs to be done. So they need this. So we have to really work to debunk these narratives because it's an absolute lie. A lot of people are getting extorted, and these big corporations, okay, they're running off with the bag. Okay, and the government is allowing them to do that. Okay, and they're making excuses for them. So we really have to really break this conversation down. Let me see, my brother Phoenix. Phoenix, you got it.
Man, all I want to say is what's going on, Afro? What's up, BX? I want to say is that, man, you hit on, man, the same thing you be saying, man, is the same thing I be saying, man, because right by California, I'm in Vegas, you feel me? And I haven't personally gone through a lot with that type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm just now, I'm starting to work and all that type of stuff. But I keep on hearing that is that there was a thing where some of my friends that are in California and all that, where they were saying that, you know what I'm saying, that the immigrants and all that type of stuff was discriminating against them and stuff like that. And I keep on hearing this narrative that, we don't want to work the jobs and stuff like that. I'm like, well, what do you think the Great Migration was about? What do you think that was about? We wanted to work them jobs and all that type of stuff. Think about it is that these people, I don't like to blame all of them. So I'm going to just separate the two because I don't like generalizing. So I'm going to say the tether class, is that the tether class, they want to take the jobs and all that type of stuff. And I keep on hearing the same narrative. We don't want to work the jobs. We don't want to do this. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I know a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people that say that they would do the farm work. They would pick the fruit or whatever it is type of thing. So that's a whole bunch of just lies and all that type of stuff that they keep on saying that we don't want to do the work, man. A lot of my uncles did my genealogy. A lot of my uncles owned car shops, was owning farms and all that type of stuff. So yeah, that's just a big lie when they try to say is that, that we don't want to do the jobs and all that type of stuff. Think about it is that you pay me $5 to do that type of job, I'm not doing it. I'm gonna look at you like you're crazy. But if you pay me a good enough money to do it and all that type of stuff, then I'm gonna definitely do it. And the thing about it is that these people, unfortunately, some of them is, okay, we're just working for $5 and stuff like that. Me personally, I'm not doing that. You better pay me what I'm worth or something like that, or else I'm not doing it. So I agree with every single point you and BX said. Y'all, everything that you said, I've been saying for a long time.
Totally agree. Thank you. I totally agree. If you pay people fairly, if there's good benefits, because some of this stuff is dangerous. So if there's good benefits, health benefits, you know what I'm saying? If there's good regulation and stuff, wouldn't be a problem. Let's get to the next speaker. Let's get to Monopoly.
Show me one illegal immigrant that's being paid under minimum wage.
Show you an illegal immigrant? Well, I don't have one, so I don't know.
You think any illegal immigrant is being paid under $7.50 an hour?
Do I think so? I mean, it's been reported, yeah. So Let me
You're
okay, let me ask you this question then. If they're being paid fairly, which there's so many different lawsuits and there's so many different people who've exposed the fact that there's exploitation. If everything is everything, why are they getting preferential treatment in very select, because it's not all, but very select job markets in this country then? If
bro.
there's no exploitation.
Show me where they're getting paid less than $7.50. You can't mow my grass and get paid less than that.
Okay, look, dude, get to the point. So you're saying that they're not being, there's no exploitation. There is absolutely no corporate exploitation of immigrants, which is why there's preferential treatment.
What exploitation are you talking about?
Labor exploitation.
As in pay?
As in pay, as in working conditions, as in being not being paid overtime, as in not being paid holiday pay, not having to go through hazard pay, being paid under the table, which means you're technically not an employee with W-2s and benefits, but you're like a PRN, so to speak, where you get to come in and you get to do the job, and I'll give you cash for the job, but I'm not going to put you on the payroll. It's a lot of that happens.
Let me know the benefits of a waiter.
The benefits of a waiter? What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah. They get paid minimum wage, right? A waiter, and then they get paid on tips, right? So tell me, what are the benefits of a waiter?
We're not talking about that. Okay. We're talking about this because you're not getting tips when you're on the farm, are you? Are you getting tips when you're on the farm? Are you getting tips when you do construction? No.
You get paid well over minimum wage.
Not them, which is why the companies don't want to hire actual citizens.
Show me one person that does construction, either concrete, what is it, framing, roofing. Show me one Mexican that's getting paid less than minimum wage.
I do not have Mexicans. Okay. You can look it up, because what you're doing, and I want the audience to know, what he is doing is he's being disingenuous, because he's show me this. He can't disprove what I'm saying. He knows what I'm saying is correct. He can't disprove what I'm saying to be correct. So he's playing this very disingenuous game of, oh, I don't believe it. And then everything I say is, I don't believe it. But you can't disprove it. So what you're doing is wasting time. So you can have a good night.
Afro, can I tell you this?
Hey, hold on.
So
I wanted to
if
say
you
something to him.
wait,
He's gone now.
Yeah, it don't matter now. Yeah.
Okay, so let me say this, Afro Elite. In New York City, and I believe in Texas, there are areas that people stand. It's primarily Hispanics, and now I'm seeing other like Black immigrants, right? They stand on the side of like Home Depot, stores like that, and they wait for somebody to come pick them up for a job. That is off the books. That is well known. You can call anybody in New York and ask them about Home Depot. And if the Mexicans, or I think it's either Haitians or Jamaicans, stand on the side of this here department store and home goods store and wait for somebody in a pickup truck to pick them up. And I know for a fact they do that in Texas too. And if American comes in, he might could tell you more about that. So it does happen, but we can't show you the person because we don't live with the people. We just see and we just know what's going on.
Exactly. Do you know how I know what you're saying is the absolute truth? Because in Chicago, I actually went to the migrant shelter and had an interview, and I posted this on YouTube, and they told me they did that. They told me they would go to Home Depot and they would wait outside, Okay. Now, black people, that would be what they call loitering or something like that. You couldn't just wait outside of a building waiting for, you couldn't do that. But they would just wait outside and they would wait for somebody who does have work. So if you wanted something painted, you wanted your garage painted, or you wanted some construction done, you can pick up a few of them and you could pay them essentially anything you wanted to. And it's labor off the books. And this is something that's well been known. This is a well-known thing. So anybody coming up being disingenuous and playing obtuse, playing dumb, acting like they don't know, like, what? I don't know. That doesn't happen. It does happen, okay? And everybody knows it happens. We're not going to sit up here and try to convince somebody, and they already know it happens, but they're trying to sit up there trying to waste time. We know that it happens, okay? And he can't disprove. He can't debunk what we're saying. That's why he keeps asking these questions. We ain't got to prove nothing to him, but it does happen. Okay. And I get proof of them saying that they do that. Let me get to the next speaker. We have Adam. Adam, you got it.
Thank you, sir. I just want to get up here and say I used to work construction for about 10 to 12 years. The company I worked for went out of business due to because when they would bid on a job, they were bidding on jobs, and there would be Mexican contractors that would underbid on the job by like $4,000 to $6,000. That $4,000 to $6,000 would have paid our crew, but since they're underbidding, they got the job. So it not only hurts, like hurt my pocket, but it hurt everybody's pockets that's in that field, because you have people going out there and underbidding on a construction job by a few $1,000s, and that would pay a crew. And all
Okay, so what other work would you say?
they're taking the construction work. It's not just a field work. They're taking construction work, and what they'll do is there'll be one person running a business who's legally a legal citizen, where they had their green card to work, but everybody on their crew were undocumented, or they were paying them, $50 a day to do a job that cost $100 a day.
Okay, and that's true, and that's been happening for the longest time. That's true, especially when it comes to, because when we talk about unwanted jobs, oftentimes they keep trying to confine the conversation to farm labor. And there's a lot of exploitation in farm labor, but it's not just farm labor. A lot of it is in construction. A lot of it is in factory work. A lot is in these union jobs. Okay. So it's not just, we can't strawberries out of in a farm. This is not just that. All right. Let me get to the next speaker. Let's get to Truth Seeker, and then we'll get to Miss Big Red.
The last guy said it that I wanted to say, you know what I'm saying? And he said it the exact way I would have said it. So I would just go with, okay, I had a friend that I grew up with, and his family was nothing but brick masons, right? Working at Little Caesars, right? And I asked him, why is he working for Little Caesars? And he told me ever since the Mexican came through and started working in his field and underbidding them, he couldn't work and make a livable wage. So he had no choice but to go to fast food. And
Let me just harp on that. A lot of it, to be honest, is less quality work. We're gonna have to tell the truth on that. A lot of that is less quality work, which is why when Black Americans, when we were building houses, the houses that we used to build, which we could go back centuries to the houses we used to build, those houses are still standing up strong and tall. Those buildings still standing up strong and tall today. These newer houses are very flimsy, brittle, weak. They falling over the place. but the people who are building them, they're getting paid or they're charging less money to build these houses. So even the brick masons, they do a lower quality job, but essentially you don't have to pay them as much as you would have to pay somebody who would do a good job. So that's why they get the preferential treatment in that. But a lot of that is underbidding. And this is why a lot of the job exploitation, when it comes to immigrants, we have to really discuss and debunk, because they're being used. Okay. The a lot of illegal immigration is being told we need to be sympathetic to and we need to vouch for, because these jobs just won't be done. That's the narrative that they push. The jobs absolutely will not be done if they're not here to do it, and that is a lie. Now let me get
Making it
to.
seem like, hold on one second, I just want to say something. Making it seem like the other groups that are in America, like us black people, are lazy. But I also gave an example of how he picked himself up, reinvented himself, and now he's a district manager. And y'all hear our plight. Know that regardless, we're gonna survive. We've been struggling, and know that we're gonna rise to the occasion to better ourselves. We're not one of these people that just say, "Oh, I'm finna give up and get on welfare." No, we're gonna figure it out, and I'll land there.
Absolutely, we always do. We always do. Let me get to Miss Big Red.
Hello, how's everyone? So I just wanted to add to what everybody was saying, and I agree with what Adam said as far as them like undercutting. I even had some projects done on my home, and at the time, it's been a few years now. At the time, I didn't even realize it, but I had some paint. I had to have my whole downstairs painted. I had to have some construction where they had to rip out one of my closets because of some water damage. I had some. My driveway was widened. So what I usually do is I'll take three estimates every single time. It happened to be, the Mexicans. They were always the ones who were coming in with the better price. So even in that, situation, and it was clear to me, like the person that I was talking to, the person that signed the paperwork, and we had the agreement, and everything. They were, clearly licensed and things like that. But now those people who came in to do the work, that's a different story. Most of them didn't speak a lick of English, and I'm not saying that they weren't citizens because they didn't speak English, but to me, it was just clear that these people were, not probably on the up and up. So I had that happen three times, like I seen it personally. A friend of mine also, she used to do like housekeeping, things like that. She would clean up for people when they set up and clean up for people when they had parties. And she said for years, she had a lot of trouble finding work because, there were people underbidding her. So she said lately here, it's all of a sudden she's getting more work. So I'm in North Carolina, so there's a huge Hispanic population here, huge. But so yeah, the truth of the matter is not that immigrants are taking the unwanted jobs in America. No, they're taking the unwanted pay. That is the truth, because they know, like your average American, we cannot afford to work. Like I live in like I said, I live in North Carolina, and the city I live in, I wish you would come here making maybe less than $28-30 an hour, because if you do, you are naked, like without working maybe 2-3 jobs. And of course, we have to have insurance and all of that. They're not offering these people those benefits. So it's a false narrative. It's just a plain out ugly lie is what they're telling people.
That's very true. If I had a construction job and I wanted, if it was a business, I would have to have somebody else who was certified to do this work. I would have to have a certified roofer or another certified plumber in order to come in and do this. I couldn't just hit my little brother up and then him do the job for me and I'm certified and he's not certified. Oh no, that's a whole bunch of lawsuits and a whole bunch of have their thing like that who do not have the qualifications, don't have the certifications, don't have the food safety, are getting paid off the clock and all of that. They be having a whole lot of this exploitation and illegal labor under their businesses, and nobody wants to say nothing about it. So it is absolutely not the fact that these people are just harder working people, and these people are willing to get up in the morning and put in the work that we're unwilling to do. That's not the truth.
That is not the case. And my question has been and always will be, if these people are just such, extremely hard working, and they have such a work ethic, and they have this and they have that, then why are they having to come here? Like, why is their country not top tier? If they got it going on like that. I never understood that. And that's my question every time I hear that. Like, they're, Hispanics or Mexicans are the hardest working people in the world. And I'm like, please, that's a joke. Makes no sense.
Yeah, it's not true. It's not true. And we got to stop that lie. Let me get to, because you were disagreeing in the comments. So let me get to Reggie. Reggie, what do you have to say about it?
Yo, what's up, man? And thanks for having me on. So I agree with what Big Red was saying. It's Big Red. It definitely is basically wage manipulation, right? So you could pay people, essentially just pay people a lot less for doing work that's much more valuable that you would have to pay other people, right? So that's where, they cook the books. But I guess my fundamental disagreement, not necessarily with the prompt, right? It's really, my mindset is mostly with what Truth Seeker was saying. So he was saying, hey, yeah, my friend or my family member didn't get this opportunity, but there was another opportunity where he became a district manager. And how I'm looking at that is, I'm like, yo, that guy who became a district manager, he didn't have to go ahead and do backbreaking labor in the farms. I don't want that for Black people. I don't want that for anybody, especially Black people. We can talk about other forms of manual labor as well, right? But
I
when
don't
it
mean
comes
to
to
cut them
farming,
off, but I'm from Arkansas and we still work in the farm.
okay.
Okay,
So
let's let them go.
right. So yeah, I appreciate the work of everyone in Arkansas. Um, but for me personally, my mindset is, okay, I don't want people to do manual labor. That means that's shorter life expectancy. That means that's a lot of pain. I want people to do jobs outside of that. So I think it's better if we focus our if we focus our efforts elsewhere. For example, in education that, yeah, just doesn't lead to this style of work. We can all agree that this is backbreaking labor, right?
Yeah, okay. All right then. Well, let's get to what you were saying in the comments before you
All
came
right,
up,
yeah,
because this
because
is not what you were saying in the comments. So yeah,
it
let's
absolutely
get
was.
to it now. Let's get to
Yeah,
what you were
yeah,
saying
okay,
in the
let's do it.
comments.
All right. Are you scrolling? Because I definitely made that point. So what other point in the comments? Because
You were
this was
making a, because when people were talking about, I think it was Adam. It was either Adam or Truth Seeker when we were talking about the unions and how they get, paid under the table and stuff. You said, what's wrong with that? When we were talking about all of the little budget cuts and them cutting corners, you were saying, why is that a problem? What is wrong with that? That's what you were saying. So
so the
what is your
context,
opinion on that?
right? So let me just put the context in with that. Uh, that wasn't specifically to what Adam was saying. If people remember what I said about Adam, quite frankly, and I'll just say this here, Adam, you can take it however you want. I'm not gonna accept white man tears. I'm sorry. I do not care. There is so much other stuff that you can be doing for Black people, except for running to a panel. Except for
Let me
running to a
ask you. Let
panel.
me where because you're saying black people and your major concern is about black people. What are you?
So my people are from the islands. My people from Trinidad.
Oh, okay. So you're Trinidadian.
Right. Right.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Because I
So,
couldn't tell by your picture. I haven't zoomed in, but I couldn't
oh
tell.
damn. Um, by the way, I'm getting just a little bit of an echo. Yeah. So Adam, just generally, I don't think you should be running to Black people's panels to complain about other people when your people could be doing so much more. So
Millions of people would be doing these jobs, but nobody is doing these jobs now except them because the immigrants are allowed, is not just because they do it, they are allowed to undercut citizens. And it mainly harms black folk.
So let me just respond to that real quick. All right. So in the last election, we just heard people complain about the price of food and the price of eggs, right? So if we were to, as a collective, start paying day laborers on farms what a U.S. salary would be, and not just give them money under the table and do wage manipulation, what do you think the price of those goods would be? And on top of that, do you think that the U.S. public would seriously accept uh, going from $1.50 to what, $2 or $2.25, or the price of cauliflower, the price of all of these things just going up? No, they were complaining about eggs being more expensive. America would never tolerate that. So for me, I think it is best. You said that there are many other professions that people can do and make money. Yeah, do that. Let this be their problem. They had they had revolutions in the past. People are talking about MLK.
They're unable to constantly keep bringing in income to pay their employees. So that's a big problem. Now, let me address the question that you brought up. If these farms, if they stop, which essentially you're confirming that these farms are underpaying their employees, that essentially that is what you're confirming, that these farms are underpaying them, but they have to do it because if they don't do it, they would have to raise the price of all of these groceries. That's untrue. That's a narrative that these farmers have been able to make for years now. These farms make a lot of money. These farms have the money to do it. They just take home, the owners of the farms take home a lot of that extra money because labor is the most expensive thing. These farms are not broke by any means. These farms is not like these farms are unable to pay a wage without raising the cost. You have black farmers, and I make this analogy all the time, and when I say this, people can't debunk it. You have black farmers who got their legal paperwork and everything is on the up and up. They got black people working on the farms and everything, and everybody's being paid fairly. Everybody's on the payroll. Everybody's doing everything. You have people who have farms and they don't have illegal labor and they're still able to make it. All right. This excuse that if we got rid of the illegal labor, the prices would go up is untrue. You brought up eggs. Eggs are not expensive because you're not having illegal labor. Eggs are expensive, and we can get into that because there was a whole bird flu thing that happened recently, and it's really about the supply and demand, and really there's a lot of price gouging going on with these eggs if we're going to be really, really honest about it. But that illegal labor is not why eggs are so expensive right now. All right. These farmers and these companies are able to get away with this stuff. And this is because they take home a lot of money. The money that they're saving from the labor is not like they're putting back into the business or they're using that money to lower the price of their groceries. Their grocery price would stay the same. Okay. They're just taking the money that they're saving from the labor and putting it in their pocket and going home.
So
Bro, I need to.
yeah,
I need to say
so
something
you
right
made a
quick.
bunch of
Hold
good
on,
points.
sir. Hold on,
Yeah, go
sir.
ahead.
So the reason why eggs went up was due to the feed that they was feeding the chickens. They were not able to produce eggs. That's
So
why. That it's a fact. It was the feed that they was feeding them.
My
wasn't.
point wasn't about the. So
Hold on,
my
hold on.
point
I'm just saying. I just needed to put that out.
about this manual labor. The other thing too that we have to think about, because host pointed out that these farmers are very rich. The owners of the farms are very rich. Well, if manual labor goes away, if immigrant labor goes away, what you're already seeing on the farm is the use of not only just machines, but AI inspired machines, where AI machines would go ahead and pick the crops. So that's the next step here after the immigrants go. It's going to be, even more farming done with AI machinery. And that goes back to my original point that as Black people, and I know somebody may say, "Well, your parents are from Trinidad, yada yada yada," right? But as people, we should just know that the farming industry is just not for us, because sooner or later, so sooner or later, I'm getting a little bit echo. So sooner or later, so the entire goal of farming is, and most labor is to find the cheapest labor possible. The construction industry, we agree on those points, host and Miss Big Red. We agree on those points. But when it comes to farming and finding the cheapest labor possible, it's always going to be about pricing out Black folks. It's always about that. So that's what I'm saying. We should look elsewhere. And I'll land there.
Okay, and before we get to, because we got some more people who want to say something. Phoenix wants to ask a question, and then we got a new speaker. We got a Black man who's up here. Before I let Phoenix go, I'm gonna say the narrative that if we don't have super damn near illegal, damn near slave labor to do these jobs, AI and machines are going to come over and they are going to take over. That is a narrative that is used to justify underpaying people for their work. That's the narrative, because they've been saying that as far as truck driving, they've been saying that as far as working in fast food, they've been saying that as far as all jobs. They say, well, if you pay them any more than what you're paying them now, then they're going to get a robot. So if you don't want to get replaced by a robot, then that means that you should you should accept the wage that you've been given. Okay, so we got to stop. Let's be genuine. Okay, and when it comes to, because even though the picture's right here, right, the jobs that they're taking are not just farm jobs. We keep having this conversation relegated to farm labor. It's not just farm labor. It's construction, it's plumbing, it's roofing, it's brickwork, it's electrician work, it's a lot of stuff. It's housekeeping work. Okay. It's some of this stuff is working retail, is working restaurants. It's a lot of pretty much all businesses. All right. So we can't just have this stuff, especially in factories and stuff. We can't just have this conversation relegated to quote unquote working at a farm. All right. Which there are some people that maybe me and you might not, because we're not like farmers, but there are some people who wouldn't mind being a farmer. There are people who garden and farm and all that stuff, and that's just what they do. So we can't be making it seem like farming is some type of thing to be belittled or demeaned, or that's something that no sophisticated person wants to do. There are people who want to have their own farms. Farms are necessary. All right. And it should be operated in a certain way. But let me get to Phoenix. You can ask your question.
Yeah, I just want to ask real quick. So, Reggie, you mentioned something about MLK and Cesar Chavez. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said something about, just want you to re-say this real quick. You said something about MLK and Cesar Chavez linked up.
So I didn't say that they met up. I didn't say they met
Oh,
up.
okay.
I actually looked it up before I said it. When people were talking earlier, because I was like, yo, I wonder if Cesar Chavez and MLK at least talked, right? And from what I found out, they were exchanging letters between each other. So yeah, no, they definitely didn't link up.
Okay, so that what I'm saying is that what did you say though? Just repeat what you just said right quick.
I said that they had correspondence, and if you look it up right now,
But you didn't say Corey. You didn't say that.
I
But
did.
okay.
I used the exact words correspondence, which is why I'm telling you it right now. It's the exact word I used. I did not say that they met up.
Okay, I land. Okay.
Right. And it's just semantics, but I didn't say that they met up. That's crazy. Not after I read it.
Okay. Well, if that was your question, let me get to black man. I'm gonna let you go.
What's up, y'all? What's up, host? How you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. How you feeling?
So what Reggie was saying, for one, I would like to say it seems as if that's a reflection of someone that's not necessarily from our lineage, that's telling us that has an opinion on what he feels is best for us. And if he was from our lineage, he would know that our forefathers, our grandparents, they came from sharecropping. And when we moved to the cities all across America, we kind of lost that skill. And that's something that would benefit us more than anything. Any of these so-called high-paying jobs or whatever that he feels that's so much better than a manual labor, as he called it, right? And I look for an example. If we look at the Amish community, right? So we set the narratives for how our communities should operate. They can do AI farming all they want to. That don't mean that we have to buy the shit. So if we look at the Amish community, that's a small collective group. They don't even drive cars. They don't even use mobile updated phones, but they're thriving in their own perspective. So we don't have to follow anybody else's narrative. And farming is one of the foundations that we need to tap back into. Farming. I mean, I grew up. My dad taught me how to go hunting. Right, we had 600 acres outside the city, and that's something that we lost over the generations. So I don't know what he's talking about, but I think that's something that's we need to get back into farming. But there's somebody from not from our lineage that's speaking like that, and it's obvious.
Mhm.
You
What a
know,
lot of them do when they're not from the lineage and everything, and I was letting them go for a reason. What a lot of them do is because a lot of immigrants, they'll come over and they'll undercut. Let's be honest, they'll undercut Black Americans when it comes to the workforce. And I'm not just talking about farming. I'm talking about farming, business, factory jobs, contracts, all of this stuff. They'll undercut them because they have other, not because they'll just do the job for cheaper, but they'll make their money up because they cut corners illegally and a lot of different other aspects. But what they'll do is they'll tell us we shouldn't even want these jobs in the first place and everything like that. Why would that? Because originally, and I was letting him go because he's changed his argument multiple times. Originally, he was saying that I think that Black people should move past this stuff. I think that Black people should move past this stuff. And then when that argument didn't really land, then it moved on to the next argument of, well, if people did it for a fair wage, then the groceries would go up, and that wouldn't be the case because the groceries would go up if people did it for a fair wage. And then when I debunked that, then it went on to the next thing. Well, if you pay people a fair wage, they'll replace you with the Terminator robot, and they'll replace you with AI, and they'll replace you with all. So the argument kept changing because the ultimate goal is to try to justify illegal labor. The ultimate goal is to try to justify the narrative that the immigrants are doing this work and let's leave them alone. Let's not pay attention to that. Let's ignore that. Okay. And I'm going to make because if he believed in one argument, if that was his solid foundation and he genuinely believed in that, when that argument got debunked, he would be all like, you know what? Okay, well, I concede now because this was my argument. This is why I believed in this. And I clearly see that that's wrong. So now I'm going to move on. But when you change your argument, that means you want this to stick and you're not being genuine. You're being disingenuous about it. So you're trying to find whatever argument is going to make this point stick. That's why at first is I want Black people to move past working at a farm. Okay, well that didn't stick. Well, the prices are going to go up. Okay, what about eggs? Okay, well that didn't stick. Well, what about robots? That didn't stick. And you're moving on and you're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at the wall to see what sticks, and nothing is sticking because you're trying to push a narrative. It's not about your beliefs. It's about this narrative staying there. Reggie, what you got to say, Reggie? Come on now.
So a couple of things. First, you keep using the word debunked. I think what you mean is that you argued against it. And that's fair. So you argued against those points. Your points about my points. Again, me talking about the price of eggs was not me just bringing up eggs for the sake of me bringing up eggs. It was to talk about, hey, what happens when the price of food goes up in this country, and
Hold on,
how
hold on, hold on, Reggie.
So I
That
do have to
point got
clarify.
no, the point got debunked because you were saying that people are complaining about the price of eggs, people are complaining about the price of groceries, and you tied that into and you linked that to the fact that if immigrants aren't doing this labor in the food market, in the farm market, all right, then the prices of the goods that we get from the farms are going to go up. That's why you made the argument about eggs, and you said something about what a zucchini or a squash or something like that.
And
That's
so
why
my
you. Let's be
question,
come on. Let's tell
so
the truth now.
right, and
That's
my
why.
question for you,
Reggie,
so
hold on
my
now.
question,
Hold on, Reggie. Everybody, you can't speak when I'm speaking because then there's an echo. That's why you made that argument, because originally, right before that, you said that if they didn't do it, then the farmers would have to pay more labor for the work on the farms, which would increase the price of the groceries. Then you use eggs as an example, and then you use squash as an example. And then we had Adam and Truth, we had Truth Seeker, and then Adam confirmed in the comments that the price of eggs is not related to illegal labor, is not related to migrants doing labor, which you then conceded with, and you're saying that's not why I bought up eggs, when that is why you bought up eggs, because that's why you bought up squash, because that was the point. You were using that to give basis to the point that you were making, that the groceries will go up if immigrants aren't doing this labor.
okay, so my question to you is very simple. It's very simple. If if immigrants were replaced on these farms with Americans, with Black Americans, with Americans, and were paid higher wages that you would expect, or that were demanded, that were demanded by Americans, it would increase the price of labor. I think we can all agree on that. Would the increase of the price of labor on the farm increase the price of the goods sold at the grocery store? Yes or
No,
no?
no, it won't. No.
That's not basic economics, man. So
I'm gonna give you an example. I'm
explain
gonna give you an
explain that to
example.
us.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
give
just
you an
explain that to
example.
us.
Hold on. Let me give you an example. I'm gonna give you an example. A few years ago, and I know this because I was working for McDonald's. I used to work for McDonald's when I was like 18. I was working there from like 18 to 19, for about a year. Everybody was talking about it. Now at the time, you weren't even in some McDonald's. You weren't even getting paid $10 an hour to work at McDonald's. And this was fast food across the board. And people were saying, well, if you pay the fast food workers any more money, that's going to make the burgers skyrocket. Then nobody's going to come to McDonald's anymore. If you pay them any more, then the fries are going to have to go up. The drinks are going to have to go up. And then nobody's going to come to these fast food places. So the only way for us to stay in business is you have to pay your workers a very low wage. That's the only way you can afford to keep your business open. And then what happened is we had a pandemic. And when we had a pandemic, a lot of these companies, they needed workers to come in and work. And then next thing you know, McDonald's are starting to pay $15 an hour. KFC, $15. All of these places went up and how much they were paying people. And what you didn't see is you didn't see McDonald's burgers. You didn't see the little cheeseburger go up to $10. You did not see that. Okay. The same Happy Meal stayed the same price. The same Big Mac stayed the same price and everything like that. During the pandemic, it stayed the same price. So so this argument that if you pay your workers any more, then everything else is going to have to go up, that's a lie. And that's a narrative that is used to rationalize paying people below their wage, below what they should be paid.
Can I just respond to that real quick?
Host,
So
can I ask a quick question? Go ahead, bro.
cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, let me just respond to this real quick. So two things. McDonald's, if McDonald's right now, if they are paying people more money, one thing when we go inside of a McDonald's, one thing that we notice now is we notice the use of touchscreens. Back in the day, well, I'm not quite sure the exact day you brought up before the pandemic, right? But there was a time where people wanted McDonald's workers to receive higher wages. And what McDonald's said is they said, okay, we can do that. So we could limit the staff that we use, meaning that they're not going to hire as many people. And they're going to install touchscreens to take all the orders. And they're just going to have a few people in the back who are going to be making the product and bringing it on out, just bagging and bringing it on out. So that's a way how you can actually pay people more on paper. Say, hey, look, our workers are being paid more money, right? Because essentially they cut staffing to bring in machines. The second thing is too, I think it'll be good for people just to Google this. $18 Big Mac meal. That's what the price of a Big Mac meal was, I think, just a few years ago. It got out of control. The question is it inflation? Is it XYZ? Another good thing for people to Google is if the price of potatoes were to go up, and McDonald's is actually the largest buyer of potatoes in the United States, and I think even the world. If the price of potatoes were to go up, would that mean that the price of French fries were to go up as well? Just Google that. Google what happens when potato prices go up and how it affects French fries, and you would see your answer. So, host, I can. There we go. So I completely disagree with you on your last point because there
Let
are
me
some
okay. Let me ask you a
why
question.
this happened.
Let me ask you a question. Then, do you think that because what you're talking about the touch screens and then you got self checkout and stuff like that, and like Walmart and Target and all that stuff, do you think that that was not already a part of their plans? Do you think that that was not already going to happen? That they were not, even if they did not increase the wages of what they paid their employees, do you think that they already did not have that goal to kind of cut the labor? And do you not think that they were already going to do that? And I'm asking you this for a reason.
So of course that would be part of their plan. But my question is, so how does
No,
that
hold on.
so how do you
Because
put
if
that into
hold
the
on.
context?
Let
Yeah,
me
put that
follow.
into the context.
Hold on. Because if you're saying that that was going to be what they were always going to do, regardless of how much they paid their employees, they were always going to implement automation. That was always their goal to implement that down the line. Why are you making the argument that paying the employees is the reason? Because that's the argument you were making. You made the argument that paying the employees higher wages is the reason why you have automation in these workplaces. And now you just admitted to the fact that they were going to do that regardless. And how you know, and I want you guys to Google this. Since he's saying Google, you guys should Google this. Walmart had did that before. Walmart had did like a self-checkout thing like almost over a decade ago. And Walmart rolled back on that because people weren't going to self-checkout. People thought it was weird. People thought it was strange. They stopped doing that. So Walmart had been on that way before they're doing it now. Walmart had been doing that. Now the pandemic gave them a lot of companies a lot of excuse to do like self-checkout and all of this stuff. But let's be honest, these companies, Walmart, McDonald's, all of this stuff, they've been had an agenda to implement automation so they can cut down actual workers in their facilities. Okay. Whether they paid their employees the same wage or not, it would not have changed their overall agenda. What Reggie is doing is he's making the argument that if you went from $10 an hour to $12 an hour, then they'll replace it with a robot. They were going to replace you with a robot anyway. They were going to put robots in there anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that was a good summary. So what I would add to that, and you're very much right, in that this is just how capitalism works. Capitalism is always looking for the cheapest labor that they can exploit, right? There are times when the public does something that does get the ball moving a lot faster than it was already being moved. All right. So I would say, hey, when the public started making these demands, like you saw a lot of Democrats do this, they went around the country saying, hey, we want $15 an hour. We want $15 an hour. Right. Then those companies said, okay, well, we're going to do what we've already had in plan, what we've already had in place to do. And they started implementing it. But to your point, host, they would have implemented it anyway. I do think that the public asking for higher prices, my bad, higher wages, was a net positive, because without that, they would have rolled it out anyway.
Man, can I ask a question?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think he's looking at farming. The Our groceries is controlled by capitalism at this moment, and I think what the host and what people are saying, if you disrupt that function and you make it to where it's more favorable for Black Americans to get into farming, you add value to farming, and that's easier to do, to add to the supply versus a damn McDonald's where you got to buy real estate, you got to do all of this just to open up another McDonald's. When it comes to farming, right, we wouldn't have to depend on that corporate structure to sell our food, right? So at the same time they talking about eggs was high, hell, you go to the country and get eggs for free, right? So the only reason why the shit was expensive is because the corporation was, manipulating things. So it would entice us to do things that's more beneficial for us. We can get back into urban farming, right? And we can, when we add value to farming, right, we're buying it direct to our people in the South or wherever it may be. And it's direct to direct. I'll give you an example. The Nation of Islam been doing something for a long time called Able Food Goods, where they were blocked by fish, vegetables, watermelons, all of that. They buy it as a block, and they send orders out as a block, and they try to do it with local or Black farmers. So that's the same thing that we need to tap in, brother. This shit is easy.
Yeah, that's very true. And we're talking about.
Last thing, would he tell his people in Trinidad to stop farming? Would he ever tell his people in Trinidad to stop farming? The fuck?
Can I answer that? Can I answer that?
Answer that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I want Trinidad to do far better than what they're doing. So they moved away from farming because sugarcane is so destructive to the land that it's not like you can just keep on doing sugarcane over and over. It's crazy expensive. But right now, Trinidad is a place where I'm like, hey, why don't you look like some of these other places? Why aren't you more successful? Why are you doing this, that, the other? It's something that I always preach to other Trinities, that, hey, why is it that I can go get a bill from the 1950s and it shows our skyline with just 2 buildings? I make this joke all the time, literally just 2 buildings. And you go to Trinidad right now, and what do you see? You see the same skyline with just 2 buildings. So I want Trinidad to do a lot better. And I pressed them too.
Okay, Reggie, what do you do for work, Reggie? If you don't mind, what do you do? You don't got to be too specific, but.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
I specialize in IP.
Okay, cool. So you're a lawyer. Have you ever been a plumber?
No, I've not been a plumber.
Okay. If somebody is to say, now you have your own job and you feel like that job, and there's nothing wrong with being a lawyer, and that's cool. But there are people, and you wouldn't want to, you never had the desire to become a plumber. That's something that you wouldn't want to do personally. However, there are other people who do plumbing work. Okay, just because it's something that you might not want to do, that you might want to move past, doesn't mean you can't speak for the majority of the society when there are millions of people who say, I would like an opportunity to start a plumbing business. What you're trying to do is you're trying to say that anything that you feel you wouldn't want to do is something that quote unquote Black Americans should move away from. No, there are people who do not think the way you think and who would like an opportunity to do certain things. And regardless of that, I'm going to be honest, should not be limited in anything. Okay. Now, if you didn't want to do it, if you didn't want to be a plumber because you didn't want to be a plumber or whatever the case is, and we don't want to do it because we don't want to do it, that's fine. But we should not be able to do it. That's the thing. And the thing is that there are jobs now that we are being unable to do because the market is so saturated with cheap and illegal labor, we're not able to get in there and get a fair wage. We're not able to really make a profit off of these markets. We shouldn't be closed out when it comes to anything. We can argue whether we should move past. That's a whole nother conversation. The conversation is the fact that we are being locked out because there is a monopoly going on when it comes to illegal labor being done from immigrants. That should not be tolerated at all. Now, Adam, you had a question, right? Or you had a response or something, right?
I had a response. It was something Reggie said to me earlier. It was like, why is a whitey coming into a black space and talking? I just wanted to say my grandmother marched with Martin Luther King back in the day. She taught me a lot. There was a lot of support. If you go back farther, my family fought for the Union to end slavery. So I just wanted to say we can't end racism if we keep it alive. Start treating people with respect and not judging them on the color of their skin, but the content of their heart.
Oh, okay. All right.
And
You've been waiting for a minute to say that. Hold on. Wow. Do we have a lot of? No, those are viewers. We got a lot of people requesting. I thought we had. If y'all want to request and y'all want to say something, y'all can feel free. Y'all feel free to do that. All right.
Okay, I'm going to make an announcement. I'm looking for the comment. So Quinzette says you can't compete against immigrants if you are not organized or community oriented. And see, here's my problem with y'all. Y'all focus on the negative aspects of our community, right? So I take that, and I may be assuming, you know, I take that to mean that he's thinking of like what they call the hood, but he's not familiar with our all black, predominantly black enclaves when you go further south. We are very community minded, and maybe we have some internal issues. But when we have to get on code and we have to get in line for each other, we do. And this is, in my lifetime, this may be the most organized and community orientated we have been outside of voting, because every 4 years we're going to come together to vote, you know. So I want y'all to stop focusing on the hood because everybody lives there, the Latinos and the Asians and poor white tea people. And so I want to know where he lives. Like, who is he to say that to us? Because we know what's
And
going on with us, and he's just on the outside thinking he's looking in.
and just because they don't see us fleeing as a community, don't mean that we don't have community.
Oh my God, Adam, stop it. He says I'm from the hood. But that backs up my claim there. So I get it, but I wasn't expecting to see it, Adam. Okay.
Look, I'm gonna also say this: as far as the narrative that the community is unorganized, and that's why these are narratives that are meant to justify and excuse, not even justify, really excuse the fact that we are being disenfranchised. We are being systemically disenfranchised, okay? And it's been allowed to happen by the government, by society, by the legal system, by the politicians, where it's being allowed and actually really promoted and encouraged to happen. So we have to deal with and face a bunch of disenfranchisement that other communities don't have to face. So the narrative of, well, you guys just got to get organized like they have to get organized. They are not dealing with the disenfranchisement that we're dealing with. They actually get to come over and they get a whole bunch of handouts and they get a whole bunch of assistance programs and they get a whole bunch of things to help them. Like even Dr. King was saying, get an economic floor. And Dr. King made this point a few times, okay? None of these immigrants are coming over and they're just getting it out the mud and they just got the grit and hard work and determination necessary to get them out of poverty. Every single last one of them would come over and fall right down into rock bottom and would completely flop. It's because of the fact that the government, and Dr. King said this, the government subsidizes their communities They train them. They give them the necessary resources. Okay, they give them all of the things necessary and help them, able them to become successful, and then they work to maintain their success. Okay, but we get undercut. I'm gonna give an example. A few years ago, there was the narrative of the whole "Stop Asian Hate" thing going on. Right now, if you guys don't remember, prior to that, it was a lot of people in the Chinatown and stuff like that saying because of the stigma from the pandemic, that nobody wanted to come to our restaurants anymore. So a lot of these Chinese restaurants were losing money. A lot of them were losing money. And what you had is you had little government programs, government funded, taxpayer funded programs that were in place and were implemented as a counter to quote unquote stop hate, that subsidized and was able to keep these businesses afloat. All right. So they look after these businesses to make sure that they didn't fall, they didn't get into rock bottom, they didn't go bankrupt. Now, when it comes to us, they'll just blow it up. When it comes to our neighborhoods, our Wall Streets, our communities and stuff like that, they'll burn it up, they'll blow it up, they'll flood it, they'll take it with eminent domain. When it comes to these other non-black groups of people, they do things to maintain, not only to give them, but also to maintain their success. So when you're having the comparison of Black Americans versus these immigrants, we're not going to have this apples to oranges conversation. We need to have an apples to apples conversation and compare the fact that these people are literally, according to Dr. King, these people are literally being given success by the government, but we are being disenfranchised.
And I agree with that. I was going to say, anybody who doesn't understand that all of this goes high up, this is not just happening, just happenstance. This is by design. I really feel like, the people who, make the decisions and make the laws, they're turning a blind eye to what's going on. They know these immigrants are here illegally. They know what's going on as far as the industries and how, people are being undercut. They know all of this. They see it and they know it, but somehow it's benefiting them in some way. So that's why it's kind of, swept under the rug and it's not made to be a big thing. And I was just going to say, as far as what Reggie was saying, you may not know, it was shortly after slavery. One of the things that our ancestors did, they basically cornered the market. I know watermelon was one thing. They basically cornered the market on watermelons. They were so successful that YT people saw a need to throw a wrench. I don't know if you know, but there is like a stigma against Black people, eating watermelon. That's where it came from. They had to destroy that because Black people were way too successful. So when you look at it that way, that would have been generating, generational wealth and all these things. So they knew the power in farming and things like that. And they knew what we brought to that, so much so that they had to destroy it.
So you mentioned
And they know if we are in power, we're a real threat. We're not just looking for $2 a day to send
Exactly.
back home.
Nope.
so Miss Big Red, you mentioned a good word there. You mentioned power, and I'm just going to connect a few dots that I've heard over the past like 10 minutes. BX, you were responding to somebody who talked about organizing. And what I would say is this, in terms of organizing, we do need to organize on the local level. And I think that's where you would see the most results. Because right now, so host just said about Chinese restaurants receiving money. Well, they didn't receive that money from the federal government. That's illegal. That's against the Constitution. The Equal Protections Act actually says, hey, you can't you can't discriminate based off race, and that's something that, if you're giving money to the Chinese restaurant, you're not giving money to Black restaurants, right? So the Equal Protection Act actually protects everybody. So
Okay, hold on. Let's, because
hold on.
before you try to debunk me,
Hold on.
are you saying that they did not receive any money at all? Yes or no?
And let me tie the point together. So they
No,
did.
because you're
They did.
making it seem
Yes.
like I'm
Yes.
wrong. You're making it
Yes.
seem
And
like
let me
I'm
put
wrong.
context in. Let
No,
me put
no.
context
Okay,
in.
so
And
they
I just
did.
said yes, right? So I just said
Okay,
yes. So
so
let me just
yes,
put
they did. Yes,
so
they
let me
did.
put
All right, so
context in.
continue,
I'm trying to
because you
put
were making
let
it
me
seem like I was incorrect. But go
all
ahead.
right. All right. So, where they received money from, if they received money, or when they received the money, was on the local level from the individual states. So, when I was saying earlier about organizing locally, politically, what you could do is you can form a political movement within your own area to say, hey, I don't like that you're giving money to Chinese restaurants in these conditions, or I don't like that you're giving money to Chinese restaurants and not black restaurants. And like host was saying earlier, he brought up the point that hey, on these construction sites, a guy says, "Hey, I'm a plumber," and he goes and gets his friend or his cousin to do the work. His friend and cousin, no one there is certified. Well, on the local level, you could force local officials to look at the permits and also go to the construction sites, because just if you're at a construction site, if you decide to do work for your house, who are you going to see eventually? You're going to see the permit people from the county show up and start harassing you for to see if the work that you're done is getting approved. Well, they should be doing the same for construction sites elsewhere that have immigrant labor. So yeah, just to land the plane a little bit, the person who was saying organizing and yada yada yada, that person, kind of foolish, but in a more efficient way, in a more powerful way, would actually be to organize locally, so that a lot of the issues that at least I'm hearing on this panel would be addressed.
But I don't
Hold on.
understand how he gonna go ahead, G. My bad.
Okay, is the state a part of the government? Because I
Yes.
never said federal government. Okay,
Okay, cool.
so if I say the government is assisting these people to maintain their business, you were saying, oh no, according to according to the law, the federal government. I did not say the federal government. I said the government. That includes the state government, the local government, the city government. That's still the government. So
And
the
that's fair.
government, overall, the American government, the government in America helped their businesses. That's the point. All right. Now, when we talk about this stuff, we have to, and I was saying this to say that these these communities get assistance that we do not receive. These communities, they get stuff to make sure that they stay afloat. Okay. Our government makes sure that these communities stay afloat, and they undercut our success. So that was the point that I was making. Now, I think you made another point about now for you. What was the second thing you said after that?
All right, so for there's like a long little string there, right? So we were talking about the Equal Protection Act. That was the first thing. No, the first thing was organizing, right? Because Miss Big Red talked about power, and I was saying, well, the power that you have is in organizing at the local level.
Okay. What was the last thing you were
All
saying?
right, the last thing was, oh yeah, okay, so here we go. Yeah, remember earlier how you were saying, well, at these construction sites, you have this guy who says, hey, he's a plumber, and he goes and he gets a friend or a cousin to do the plumbing work for him. Well, at the local level, we can actually enforce proper construction site regulations to make sure that doesn't happen, and that's something that we should be doing.
We should be doing. But before we do that, we have to have the conversation that that's not acceptable for them to do. You were making the argument earlier in the comment section, less now, but more so in the comment section, that it shouldn't matter. Okay, that they
That's absolutely not
undercut
what I
us.
said.
That was the argument. No, that
No, no.
because the
Do you
thing is
remember?
that anytime we say, okay, well, we should get the labor union, we should get them involved, we should get that, we get told that we should leave them alone. We get told that we should leave them alone, when we should let ICE not handle them. We get told that we're hating on them and we should look past it. In order for us to even get to the point where we're going to the local government, which they are allowed to do, because the local government, the labor unions and the health inspectors and stuff like that, they don't have to. They make sure to maintain and manage and supervise what black people are doing. Black people, we are always being managed. We are always being supervised. We're always being looked over. We're always being micromanaged. We are made. People don't got to go around telling on us because they always watching us. So the fact that we got to go around telling on all these people and everybody already knows that they be doing it is a problem. But before we even get to that point, we have to understand that culturally, they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. And we have to solve this problem. But every time we have the conversation that they're doing something or they're being allowed to do something that they shouldn't be allowed to do, we have people who are coming up and they're saying that actually we shouldn't even be paying attention to what they're doing. We should leave it alone. Yeah, they might be being, there might be illegal workers in the farms. There's illegal labor in the farms, but who wants to farm anyway? Let's just leave it alone. We get constantly told we should just leave it alone. That's why we don't move to the next step, because the first step of having the conversation of doing something about it, we have people who are coming up and saying it's not a problem and we shouldn't do nothing about it. That's the thing. So let's get step one first, and then let's go to step two.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
So we can all see what's going on. This is an invasion, right? So this is a whole attorney giving us advice on something that's going to work against us, but he has no example to lead by. We don't see Trinidad getting it popping, so you can lead by the grassroots and say, hey, we did this in Trinidad, y'all should do the same. He fled his land, tethered on us through lookership, and now he's trying to give us bad advice. We know exactly what we need, where we fell short, where some of our ancestors led us wrong, and where we need to correct it. You need to be taking advice from us, because our community don't come from that fleeing. So as we figure it out, my brother, Reggie, as we figure it out, let's figure it out in good faith, because we see what's going on. Because you wouldn't tell your people back at home to do this.
And like
Yeah, he's not arguing. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna let you go, Big Red, and then we get to the other speaker. These are not good faith or genuine arguments. These are disingenuous arguments. What I'm doing is we're having a respectful dialogue, even though it's not genuine arguments, but these are the narratives that are being pushed by the establishment. Okay, all of these talking points, all of these, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, because these are the narratives that are untrue. These are the false narratives that are being pushed by the establishment to make black people docile to being undercut. So I'm using this as an opportunity to be all like, oh no, all of this stuff is undercutting and there's no justification for it. Miss Big Red, you got it.
Yeah, I was just going to say again, like I said, this goes high up. Do you not think that these people in business, and I'm talking about our federal government. You don't think they have a hand in all of this? Of course, they're not going to say, "Hey, we're going to give the Asian community money to prop up their business." Of course, they're not going to say that. But if you think stuff like that doesn't go on all the time, you are sadly mistaken, and you know nothing about American government. So these people, they have money and they have people in high places. They don't care. They'll deal with Democrats. They'll deal with Republicans, whoever can help to further their people's agenda. That's who they're going to do business with. And there's a lot of money changed hands where I think we, as Black people, I think where we kind of miss the mark is that we don't have that. For a long time, and I know this is a whole different conversation, but for a long time, we've depended on the Democrats to, do what they're supposed to do and get in there and fight for us. Well, they have no incentive. We have no power. Like you like that word. We don't have the power. The Asians do. The Hispanics obviously do, because like I said, this goes way higher than we could ever imagine. None of this is being done because somebody just doesn't know it. This is being done by design, and it is being assisted, and we know that. That's all I wanted to say.
That's 100% true. Let me see. Musa, I'm gonna let you go. and I think Adam had something. I think he said he had something else, so I'm gonna let him get his.
I did have something else to say. I just want to say if I offended anybody for being in your space, I'm here to educate myself on the problems you are facing.
Hi guys.
It's
Hold on, let Adam finish.
like
Okay, I'm just
I don't view you guys like I know like your black skin is you're very proud about it and it's part of your culture and it's part of your heritage, and I respect that. I'm only here to hear your side of the stories and maybe help and chime in with certain little things. I just want to say thank you for allowing me to come on your panel, and I appreciate it very much for allowing me to listen.
Okay, can I just say something? The sentiment is a very good sentiment, but we have to be mindful of the verbiage we use so that it doesn't come off slightly offensive. Uh, we're proud of more than just our skin color. You said black skin. Um, that would offend some
I'm
because
sorry.
they
I'm
don't
sorry
subscribe
about that.
to.
I'm sorry.
No, no, listen. I'm a land because I know Afro wants to move on. So we're proud of everything about us, right? We're proud of the way that our ancestors survived the Middle Passage. They were enslaved here and released without anything, emancipated without anything. Whatever they had was destroyed, and we're still standing, right? So where they thought that we would, unalive out, um, we were seeds and we blossomed. And we still have a fight to go. It just looks a little different than the past. So we're more than proud of just our skin color, right? To be black is not only skin or complexion, it's everything that embodies us. It's a consciousness, a state of mind, a resilience, a spirit about us that won't allow us to fold.
I think it's beautiful also.
Thank you.
All right, let me get you. I know you've been. Let me see. Well, Musa, he jumped off. So, cousin, what's up?
Yes, so first, let me say thank you, and I appreciate all that you've been doing. And as long as you've been out here spreading the word and the message, I personally would I categorize you like this. I have Professor Black Truth and the Black Authority when it comes to getting on code as one. I have no problem classifying you as 1A and one of the group that would be in 1A. Because what you are doing for the community, for the family, is totally freaking awesome. So personally, I want to thank you for all that you've done and all that you continue to do.
Thank you.
Reggie, I've heard you say a few things, and I hope I don't get you out of pocket or out of line from what I've heard. It sounds like you're incredibly business oriented. In most of your responses, it seems that you've sided with big business in every aspect of their moves. So I'm trying to figure out if you're siding with big business and their moves, how do you manage to thread the line to coming to the grassroots?
No, that is an excellent question. But what I will do is I'll just rearrange what you said just a little bit. So when you said that I'm business oriented, I said in the comments, yes. But that doesn't mean I'm on the side of big business. No, I'm on the side of black people having their business, having money and having wealth. That's really what the side that I'm on. Um, so just a few things. So like the way how I think about it. This is how I think about it, right? I was saying earlier, and I don't know if you were here, and I was really focused on farming, not construction. I agree with just about everybody on construction, but on farming is where that's where I was drawing the line. Because for me personally, I'm like, hey, to me, the work that these immigrants are doing, it's backbreaking work. And what I see right now is I see that hey, black people, we have a crisis in the fact that our life expectancy is 5 years less than that of whites. So for me, I'm like, okay, well, you're doing backbreaking labor out there, and that's gonna take some life, man. That's gonna take some years off, right? So
Yeah,
what
but
I would
that's not
rather see.
us. That's them
Hold on,
doing
hold
the
on.
backbreaking labor work. That's not us.
So what we're talking about is black people working in the farms. If they just, if you were to pay farm workers, farm laborers, the money that, like, let's just say minimum wage, because right now, immigrants, they're not getting paid minimum wage, right? A lot of them are getting paid under the table, if at all. But if you were to go ahead and say, hey, citizens of the United States, we're paying $15 an hour for farm labor, right? My thing is, I'm like, well, there are other professions that I would like to see black people do. For example, maybe instead of working the farm, we become agricultural scientists. Maybe we become the agricultural business people. There are entire fields that are just dedicated to agriculture that many black people enter. It's like Booker T. Is it Booker T. Washington? No, it's not. But anyway, black people have had quite the history with agriculture and inventions and producing products and so forth, and producing businesses that didn't require day labor. So that's the side that I'm on. And yeah, by the way, there was someone who mentioned in the comments, she said, "Hey, Reg, you sound a little bit insensitive." And to that, I do want to apologize if I do sound insensitive.
Reggie, what type
Okay,
of attorney
I
Yeah,
are you?
will.
Booker T. Washington. Thank you, Booker T. Washington, right? And his work with peanuts, right? So yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear
And
your
what type
question.
I
of
will
attorney? What type
concede
of
that you
attorney are
did
you?
sound a little heartless.
Right. So my bad on
That was
that.
George
But
Washington
what? My
Carver.
bad. Black man. What did you answer?
What type
What
of
did you
attorney
ask?
are you?
So I'm an IP attorney. I focus on
Okay.
inside. Yeah. So
Let me
yeah,
let me say
and
let me jump in right real quick. Um, Reggie, that you being disingenuous, Reggie. You are being disingenuous because that's not the argument you were talking about. Well, it takes away from our life expectancy or whatever the case is. You keep changing why you're trying to excuse immigrants taking these jobs. Every time we talk about it, you keep on switching and changing the reason why you're trying to justify immigrants coming over and taking these jobs. You keep on doing that. Now, if it's about life expectancy, then when we say, okay, well, we've been doing this for a while. We've been our people been sharecropping and everything like that. Picking strawberries don't take away from your years living or whatever the case is. So now when we say that, then you'll go to, hold on, no, it's about automation. And if you pay us more for the work, if you pay the workers more, a decent wage, then all of the groceries will go up. Then you make that argument. Now you're making the argument that it's about generational wealth, even though Big Red and all of us were saying there are a lot of black businesses that are undercut because these immigrants outbid actual black American businesses because they cut corners on the back end. So every time we make an argument that illegal labor should not be justified in this country, you come up with a different counter argument for it. So you're not looking out for black people. You're not looking out for black people because if you were looking out for black people, you would say that illegal labor harms black people. There's so much data, it's so much statistics, there's so much information to back this up. Illegal labor is absolutely in no way at all beneficial to the community. It only harms the community. And you've been sitting up here trying to create justifications and reasonings and excuses for it. So don't play the game like, oh, I'm just caring about black people. No, you're not. No, you are not, because this is undercutting black people.
Is he talking about life expectancy? What's better? What's more impactful for the life expectancy? Our people, our youth, even our brothers and sisters coming out of the legal system, being able to get jobs, right? That's not undercut by immigrants, and to actually make a living for themselves. A lot of y'all is doing jobs that our high school kids will be doing, our college kids will be doing, right? So you're undercutting that, And what's so us working fields or doing manual labor and things like that? That's not going to harm our life expectancy or our way of life. If anything, it enhances it because to get that shit out of the way. Because we not finna work for $2, y'all will, but we set the record straight, right? And it's equal across the board. Then it's a difference. But clearly he don't understand that because he's not from the grassroots.
And Reggie, were you
Been absorbed into. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Were you referring to George Washington Carver as far as agriculture?
Yes. So his work with peanuts
Right.
and
That
his
wasn't Booker T. Washington. That was
right,
George
right. It
Washington.
wasn't Booker T. Washington. Right. I looked it up afterwards. So yeah, his work with peanuts and all of his discoveries. There are entire sections of, and actually, before I get started with that, I'll just say this. So we can address, or we can say that one issue has multiple like sub issues, and multiple reasons can exist about why something could be true. So while host, I do hear you. You might say, "Hey, Reg, you're bringing up all of these issues. You bring up all of these arguments," and I would say that's because I think all of these arguments are all of these arguments hold a lot of weight into why I just don't think that this is um, that for me. I don't think that this is the best idea, and also I think I'm having a farming argument. I'm not having a general labor argument.
Yeah, I know.
So
Oh, no, Reggie.
wait. So
Reggie, no, you were having a labor argument because you brought
no,
up
no, no.
McDonald's. You brought up McDonald's,
I
and you
brought up
said if you paid you now come on, Reggie, I remember that because you
right.
said if you paid the workers at McDonald's higher than minimum wage, then that would make all of the food and everything like that, all of the labor and stuff like that go up. That's what you was you because if it was
Right.
about farming, you wouldn't have bought McDonald's up. You brought
But
McDonald's up because you are trying to justify paying the workers, paying the employees as minimum as possible in
so
order to keep the business profitable. Okay, so
so
let's
host
come on now. I remember
so
you
host
said that.
so host. Let me ask you a question. What does McDonald's make?
It's
Fast food.
irrelevant to the
I mean,
business
Okay,
and,
class
okay,
and
in the
so
they
so
market.
see
so
the
they make
argument.
food, right?
See,
So they
because you're
make
trying
food.
to use it to
So they make
overall your
food.
ultimate
And so what
argument,
is
Reggie. Hold on
farming?
now. Stop.
And so what's farming?
Everybody
Farming is
can't talk
also
at the
food,
same time
right?
because then there's an echo. Your ultimate argument this whole time has been trying to rationalize and justify immigrants doing illegal labor in this country.
That
That's
is
what you've been
nasty.
trying
That's
to do. You've
absolutely
been
not true.
excusing it. You've been no, you've been excusing it and
That
you've
is a
been giving it
factual lie. If you
justifications
focused on
and you've been
farming this entire time.
Stop Reggie, because then when you talk and I talk, there's an echo. All right. You've been doing that the entire time and you've been changing your argument because you keep trying to make this a thing that we should accept. You want us to accept this as a thing by saying, okay, well, we should move on past farming. Okay, well, no, now we should move on past farming. Well, if you pay them workers, then the food will go up. Okay, well, now we argued that the food won't go up. That didn't stick. Okay, well, you'll be replaced by robots. That didn't stick. Okay, you keep on trying to change and adjust your argument because you want a certain point to stick. You want to push a certain narrative. The immigrants taking the jobs is the narrative that you want to push. And you're going to make whatever argument that you can come up with in order to push that narrative.
So
He's a
let me
great
just
advocate
respond to
for his
that.
people.
So let me just respond to that very quickly. I think with the McDonald's argument, we were talking about something else. I think you brought up, oh yeah, so how we got to the McDonald's argument, you can tell me if I'm wrong, is you actually started to talk about how you worked at McDonald's, right? And then
No,
during,
don't
hold
do
on,
that. You bought
hold on,
McDonald's up. You the
this is
one bought
exactly what
McDonald's
happened.
up and fast food. I didn't bring that up.
And then during the pandemic, McDonald's food prices went, and then you started talking about labor at McDonald's. This is exactly
No, Reggie. Okay,
did this not
see,
this
you're a
not
lawyer.
happen?
You're a tricky
You have
lawyer.
to
This is why
tell me,
people
okay?
don't trust lawyers.
Because you know
This is why
this is why
people
it's
don't trust
happening.
lawyers. Because I'm gonna tell you how you brought it up, Reggie. You brought it up because you brought up of the kiosk at McDonald's, the digital kiosk where you can go in and you can start, placing your order at the kiosk. And you said there's kiosk there, so there's nobody at the counter, and then you have a few people working there. So if you make the argument that people should get paid more, what these companies are going to do is they're going to try to minimize the cost by replacing the workers with robots as much as possible. That's the argument you brought up, and then that's when I brought up I used to work for McDonald's. So
Okay,
don't
cool.
flip it on me, Reggie. You a lawyer, you a tricky little lawyer,
All right,
Reggie.
cool.
You're tricky, you ain't tricky enough.
All right, so let me just ask you this, right? So okay, so you're right. I did bring that up. You're absolutely right, and that's on me too for not remembering correctly. But there's another point that I did remember, right? I think we were talking about using the usage of machines at farms to replace labor, and then I brought up the point of, well, this is similar to like what McDonald's did with touchscreens, LEDs, right? I think that's how I started to talk about McDonald's, but it was in connection with machinery at farming. My whole entire point, so I just want to reiterate this. If we're talking about construction and most things, I'm in full agreement with you all. I definitely am. And I hope I've maintained that position this entire time. I think I have. But farming is where my issue, where I'm just like, you know what? I really don't think this is quite the case here. But with construction, with all of that, I agree with you. Illegal workers in factories, XYZ, all of those places. I agree with you. Those jobs, those construction jobs, those aren't jobs that people are getting paid that the American worker wouldn't get paid. My bad. Those aren't jobs where a construction site manager would pay a worker $7 an hour or whatever, like they would a farmer. Like if you're an electrician, if you're a plumber, if you're a roofer, if you're all of that, those jobs, those are well-paying jobs that Americans, Black Americans, should be having and should not have to face being undercut by illegal immigrants. So we are in agreement there. My argument has always been about farming.
Hmm. All right. Well, we're gonna let some other people. Cousin, did you get a chance to land? I don't know if you was cut off. Did you get a chance to finish? And then we'll get to Mackenzie.
I mean, I'm listening, and there have been so many points to speak to, but my question, I guess, again, it's semi-directed at Reggie. Reggie, you said you were Trinidadian.
Yeah, my bad. That's what I'm calling. Yeah. So my parents are from Trinidad.
Okay, so my question to you were, did your parents give you an understanding of the blessing that FBA put before them
Oh,
coming here?
absolutely.
Because in
So
some
absolutely.
situations, let me finish it. In some situations, it seems like you might be more loyal to the opportunity than to what came or how much that opportunity actually costs.
So I'm gonna say a few points. That's an excellent way to put it. That actually hit me just a little bit. I was like, wow. Actually, in my head, I was like, holy, holy ish. But you're right. That is a balance. But let me just give you a little bit of my background. So, and I'm not trying to be like the whole like, oh, well, my family members, right? But I'm actually, so I'm full Trini. My sisters are well, my sister and brother are half Trini, half FBA, and they can trace their lineage all the way back. And their family also did fight in the Civil War. And on my father's side, his my sister is half Trini, half FBA as well. And Miss Big Red talked about North Carolina. Well, on my sister's family. Her family did protest. They did sit-ins at the countertops over in Rock Hill, over in South Carolina. So, you know, these are questions that I do pose to them all the time, and we do have these conversations quite a lot. And yeah, it could get a little out of hand, you know, but it's generally love and respect, and I have all the love and respect for FBAs. I wouldn't be able to walk through life like that. That's crazy.
Well, you can understand again, because as I mentioned before, your position was being loyal to big business. Not necessarily that you are, but you were taking the position of being loyal to the side of big business. This is why I'm asking, it's opportunity and big business go together. And when you find yourself loyal to opportunity, the idea that business can do anything and it's okay doesn't sit with FBA, because we've seen what untethered business does. So when you hear us fighting against that and you choose to stand on their side, you can understand now why we're looking at you with a side eye. We're not necessarily saying you on the other side, but you are speaking a lot of the other side's talking points. Make
Yo.
sense?
Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. I'm gonna mute up now.
Absolutely. So I'll just add something to that. I definitely see your point, right? But in terms of opportunity, I think what I've been trying to what I've been trying to say from jump is that there are opportunities that I think are better elsewhere. And do I hate these businesses? Hell yeah! Like F these businesses. This is crazy, right? Yeah, F these businesses. But my point earlier was that, hey, I think that there are other opportunities elsewhere. And like you said, and I think you pretty much highlighted my position in a way, or you you read me, and that is that me personally, I am on the side of opportunity, not opportunity of business, but on opportunity for people. And I want people to have the best opportunity to have a good life. And, that's why I brought up back-breaking work earlier. That's why I kept mentioning that in life expectancy. Yeah, so that's just the way how I see life. And that's just my outlook.
Okay, if you were really for real, and after I say this, we're gonna get to Mackenzie. If you were really for opportunity, what you would be doing, even if you said that this was back-breaking work and we should be moving past it, you wouldn't be limiting us to that. If you were for opportunity, you would say we should have the opportunity to do everything. Okay. Now we should pull back away from this occupation or this work field or this or that. You can make that argument separately, but we should still have the quote unquote opportunity to do that. But what you're trying to say, or what you've been doing, is you've been justifying us being essentially locked out of a certain job market and calling it the opportunity to find something else. That's not no real opportunity. Us being able to adapt to us being discriminated against, us being able to adapt and find some other avenue is not opportunity. Opportunity is everything is across the board. It's an open market and we get to participate in the open market. Now, if you believe that farm labor just took out so many years of one's life, then okay, fine. Whatever argument you want to make for that, you can make for that. But you would be able to say, if you were really for opportunity, even though I don't agree with that, even though I wouldn't promote that, even though I feel like black people should move past that, black people should still be able to do that and be able to make a living off of that. All right. But you've been trying to rationalize big companies and big business making or doing illegal labor. You've been trying to justify that and using that as using the word opportunity as a bin. You got to mute. You got to mute because there's an echo.
Okay. Sorry.
You've been trying to use the word opportunity as a rationale for it. It's not opportunity. Us finding someplace else because we've been locked out of a market and they have a whole monopoly on a market that we used to be able to flourish in is not opportunity. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to kick you off, but I know other people are going to want to respond to you, but I want to be fair to all of the speakers. So I'm going to let Mackenzie go.
Well, family. If Mackenzie wants, can I say something, please?
Oh, hold on. Give her a second. Hold on. Now, I'm going to let you go after Mackenzie. Mackenzie, are you there? Okay, it seems like Mackenzie's not there right now. So, Ben, you can go ahead.
I don't know why there's a funky echo, but look, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and keep it a beam. Every black man that is for illegal immigration is not for black people, and you are, I don't know what to call him, a totem person or whatever. You're for the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party hates black people. I'm just gonna keep that real. I live in Southern California, and in Southern California, our oppressors are not the white man, they're the Latino. Racism here is at an unbelievable levels of high. So for y'all to ever advocate for other people living in our quarters, pushing us out, shooting at us, making us uncomfortable when they are the supervisors at our jobs, they find any and every reason to fire us just to get their own people in. So, yeah, it's insane. But then on top of that, you got to recognize something that most people are forgetting. The justice system has struck us down. Every time we turn around, we get felonies. And sometimes these hard labor jobs is the only way a black man can support his family. But with all of these illegal immigrants, there's no jobs for us. So how are we gonna ever get on our feet if we can't get on our feet and y'all hating y'all own feet to stand on? To see a black man speak on this is disgusting to me. We the only race of people that don't care about each other. It's a symbol of weakness. I land my plane.
And these are the same immigrants that are complicit with working with the government and shipping their white stuff into our communities. Also, all those our people are sellouts too, but through the Caribbeans and stuff like that, that's what this trade is coming through. So, Reggie, talk about that 700 pounds of that white stuff that they found in Trinidad that was headed to America. If you want the best for us, can you speak on that, Gene?
So first of all, that's news to me. But if you're saying they found 700 pounds of yayo, that's definitely, bad. I don't know what you
Yeah,
want me to
let's.
say.
Yeah, but let's not get off subject though. Let's not get off subject.
Yeah, I really don't know what you want me to say.
Mackenzie, are you? Hold on. I'm gonna see if Mackenzie. I don't know if I should let you up with your name like that. It's a person when you got a interesting name, brother. I don't know if I can let you up with that name. Mackenzie. Maybe Mackenzie. Maybe didn't even mean to come up. Let me get to this person. You've been asking a question in the chat room. Let me see. How do you? I don't know how you pronounce your name. AJ.
Just
How
say,
you?
just say AJ. Just say AJ.
AJ. Okay. You had a question in the comment section. What's your question?
Oh, it was for the brother that just spoke before. The black man, brother.
Ben.
Please,
Ben.
what do you do for a living, and what type of job do you do?
I'm in the medical field, and yeah, I live in a state where it's predominantly controlled by them, and they are extremely racist. Even
Wow.
even the majority of you foreigners that come here extremely racist.
Okay, hold on. AJ, hold on. Ben, mute yourself for a second because there's an echo. There's a background noise. AJ, first two questions. First, where are you from? Where's your family lineage from? That's the first question. Second question, why are you asking Ben what his occupation is?
Oh no, because he's saying they're taking the jobs and everything. So I'm trying to see what jobs are they taking and what he does for a living. So with the topic at hand, it only makes sense for us to ask people what they do for a living in case, since they're saying immigrants are taking their jobs, right?
Okay, no, hold on. Where are you from? First off, where are you from?
I'm Nigerian. I'm Nigerian.
Okay, now just because even let's be honest, even if he said even if he has a job that immigrants aren't taking his job, the fact that and the whole immigrants are taking jobs. Let's tell the whole truth with that. It's the fact that you all are able to, because you guys make excuses, the immigrants make excuses for illegal labor, okay? From big business, like Cousin was talking about, big business gets to come in and exploit the immigrants, and the immigrants are complicit with this. The immigrants are complicit with this, and it undercuts Black Americans. And then anytime we have this conversation, you have people gaslighting, and you have people making excuses and rationales for immigrants working alongside, well, not really alongside, but working for big business, which undercuts Black Americans. All right. So that's the truth. So let me, AJ, you don't believe that immigrants are, what do you think about the prompt here? The prompt, do immigrants take unwanted jobs in America? What do you believe about that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, they do. I mean, they do. Yeah.
Because it seemed like you had some type of an issue with Ben saying that they come over and undercut.
You're the one who's trying to just extend the whole thing. I was just asking to clarify why the brother was saying what he was saying, to understand what he was saying. It's the harmless question, like, what does he do? How's that a big deal for you? You're the one who's stressing it.
No, I'm not. Because you asked that question several times in the chat room, so much so you came up here to ask.
When he was talking, he was speaking, and he was sounding as if he's affected personally. So that's why I asked, what do you do? I was telling you to ask him for me to clarify.
AJ, what do you do for a living?
I'm an accountant.
Okay, so what country do you live in?
Me, I'm in Toronto. I'm in Canada. I have my own business too.
Okay, you're in Canada. You have your own business. Okay, so the plight of what happens to us in the States has nothing to do with you. This platform is not for you.
I was just asking a question.
Hold on. This has nothing to do with you. My people have nothing to do with you. You and I are not the same race.
Again,
so maybe you should go to a platform.
And the host brought me up. I don't know why you stress that.
Maybe you should go to a platform where it's about your people and for your people.
Do you then choose who and who not to come on your platform to just ask? Because I was just asking a question.
Look, right now,
okay, hold on. Two people can't talk at the same time, because then nobody can hear.
Why is he crying like that? Why is he already crying?
No, okay, let me see. Because here's the thing, you're being disingenuous. We're gonna stop this. We're not gonna play no games here. We're all grown. If you're an accountant, stop. Because if you're an accountant, I know you're grown enough to know what you were doing. Okay, you're asking the question, and this is what I said before. I already knew you was gonna gaslight before. That's why I said the word gaslight. I already knew you was gonna stop. Rex, I was about to call you.
I can just be in the
stop. No, be quiet. Be quiet when I'm speaking. All right, because there's gonna be an echo. All right, and plus I'm the host anyway. Not supposed to be over talking me. You asked this question because you was all like, well, you seem like you were personally affected. Ben doesn't have to be personally affected to speak on an issue. If the issue he's speaking on is true, if what he's telling is the truth, then Ben doesn't have to have a personal feeling about it. It doesn't have to affect him personally in order for him to speak on the issue. What you're trying to do, why you kept asking, oh, what job do you do? What job do you do? Is because you're trying to put this narrative out there that Ben is he's personally affected, or he's not personally affected, so he shouldn't speak on it. Or if he's personally affected, that makes him biased to it. Whatever Ben does, whatever his job occupation is, whatever he does for a living, has nothing to do with what he is saying being true or not true. Okay, this man he could work in the medical field. This man could be a lawyer. He could work at a restaurant. He could own a business. We don't know what he is doing. But if what he is saying is the true condition of what's going on, and I think he said South Carolina, he gets to speak on that.
Might I interject a point?
You actually said California. I mean, you were listening to him properly.
No, he said, bro, didn't you say South Carolina? You said South Carolina, right?
No, he said California.
He said California. Who said? Didn't you? Somebody said South Carolina or something like that, right?
It's
No,
okay, man. I'll just be in the comments, man. I'll listen to the program.
Oh,
Thank you.
I swear to God, I thought somebody said South Carolina. Okay, anyway, I guess I was wrong.
Okay, if I could interject and hope I can remember, the idea is that AJ. Oh well, never mind. He's gone, so it's irrelevant.
Oh,
I
you said
won't go
he's.
back
Oh,
to it.
wait, Ben, hold on, real quick. Ben, you're saying North. You said you're from North Carolina or South Carolina?
no, I'm from California.
Did you ever say Carolina?
No, but not.
Damn. Okay.
That's all right, brother. You got a whole lot of facts in your head, and we go forgive you. Okay.
Okay. All right, cousin, you got it. You got it, bro. AJ is still in the chat room. He's still in the room, so you can address what he was
I
saying.
mean, I guess the idea when I hear AJ, I'm just, again, I look at these guys when they come in, and they have always come over to wherever they're coming to take advantage of an opportunity. He's an accountant. I'm going to assume he's a great accountant in Canada. But shouldn't he have taken his accounting skills back to his native country and improved that native land so that they could be moving forward? And I only say this not to make any type of disparaging comment against our brothers and sisters over there, but just to say you all do not understand how America operates when it comes to grabbing those things that are of the greatest resource, be it mineral or mammal. They will take the greatest resource, bring it into their purview and under their control, and use it to benefit themselves and benefit their plan. Simply put, the idea of meritorious manumissions is still in 100% effect today. If we as a people are protecting their property, entertaining them, and or protecting their lives, then we in the FBA community have value to them. If we are not doing those three things, if we're not Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, or Michael B. Jordan, then they don't see us as having value here. And we have to prevent those other entities from getting in the way of us showing what our true value is to this experiment called America. And that's why if you hear, I'm standing on opportunity, because it doesn't matter when these immigrants came here. That's what they came here for. And that's where their loyalty lies. So they never see that opportunity has a price. They're going to pay that fee that opportunity costs. So in the words of my brothers, cut the check. I'll land right
You
there.
know something? Let me lamb chop off that real quick, right? When I was talking to AJ, right, and I told him you're not from my race, our conversation does not anything to do with you. I think that we FBA need to really take a hard stance on that, because everybody has piggybacked or lamb chopped off of our struggles, our gains, and everything, and they give nothing or no props. They don't even tell the black community thank you, because we got unalived by the millions, enslaved by the millions, beaten by the millions for every little right that we have that they come over here taking advantage of. And for him to not even be in this country, to never experience what we went through, to have an opinion, on anything that we're going through is disgusting to me, bro. Y'all, am I alone on that? Because that's offensive as hell. Because I don't speak on problems in Africa. I don't speak on problems in Europe. I don't speak on problems in Asia. I don't even speak on problems in the Caucasian community here because it has nothing to do with me. We're the
I
only
would say
people
this
that
to
are
you, brother. I would say this to you, just not to take up in any way, but I would only say because they've finally gotten to a place where they can finally experience freedom of expression without the idea of being put upon. So they
well,
get
then,
to
but brother,
believe that they can
but
come to the
brother,
back of the church, they can get in the church when they should be sitting in the back of the pew and taking in the lesson, but instead they run up to the pulpit and try and preach a message.
well,
And
I
that's where
think
I
all of
have
them.
umbrage.
I think personally, for them to have so much courage here, and for them to have an opinion here, all since he wanted to speak on our issues here, I'm going to flex my economical intelligence since he was an accountant. All of their central banks are either banked in London, England, or in France. They are not even control of their own finances of these tiny European nations that still govern them. So if they ever want to have an opinion about us, remind them that they are still slaves to the Europeans in 2025 and that they don't even have rights in their own country to speak on anything we have going on here. Period. I land my plane.
Yeah. Now I do want to. We have more speakers, so I do want to move on. Plus, I do get some stuff I got to edit and all that. So I'm not going to be here all night, but I want to give everybody a fair chance to speak. Mackenzie, this is the last time. Mackenzie, are you here? Okay, Mackenzie just ain't here. All right, so let's get to Michael B. We'll get to Michael B.
All right, good evening, everybody. Afro Elite, I follow you every night. I'm very happy about what you're doing. I especially just jump on to speak about AJ, the guy that left. I spoke on the platform before. Was born in the country Congo. You probably know in Africa. I live in Dallas, Texas. I kind of felt what Brother Ben went through this little 5 minutes with this guy. The reason why I jump on it was to try to talk to this guy, AJ. The fact that he doesn't live in the United States, he doesn't know your fight, but he's going to feel like he can jump on the panel and ask all this nonsense question. I'm here. Brother Ben said he live in California, I live in Texas, which is a similar situation about white experience in California. I approve everything that he says. And I was just going to take this brother that was very disrespectful, jump on the panel, say the things that he says. Brother Ben, if we can say sorry, in Africa, we have 1.5 billion people. So not the majority of us think like these kind of people. In each family, you have a righteous people and you have a people also that act fool. Those are the people that you guys meet. Please don't generalize everybody in that context. We know your struggle, we feel your struggle, and we know we're not entitled to come dictate anything. Like I said, we got our own problem. If the guy was generous, we got problem with Chinese, India, all kind of, you name it. We're not entitled to come in this channel, dictate all kind of problem that he kind of raised. He got more problem down there in Nigeria than what we're going on here. He got 100 million or more people suffering. But he has the courage to ask you, what do you do and how does it affect you? So this was just my take on getting on the panel, just asking Brother Ben and Cousin, look, we have over a billion people. We all do not think like those kind of people. It's fair enough, Brother Elite. This is all I wanted to say.
No, Michael B. Thank you for
Yep.
that, brother. For real, my rib is from the Congo, and I sympathize with your people, just the Congo. My hearts and my prayers going out for y'all, to y'all, for what y'all are going through, and I hope y'all pull through, and I hope y'all are victorious against Rwanda in this war. And I love y'all, and I wish y'all nothing but the best and success and much health.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I follow Afro Elite every night. All the voices are not heard over there, but I want to tell you guys, you have a handful of Black African that support you. Everybody's not on YouTube. Everybody can go out there crying. We support you. We know your struggle. We live with you in the States, and we support all your movements. Often, you have people get on this panel, say any type of things that does not reflect everybody. Remember that we about 300 or 400 million in the United States, 5 something in Europe. We are a billion in Africa. 1.5. If you take the Africa to be the Arab, right? Those North African. But if you take the Sub-Saharan, this is 1 billion people. Don't get it 10 people, 100 people, Nigerian here, Ghana here. Think like it's everybody. You have a handful of the brother that support you, sir. It's unknown. It's unspoken on YouTube. It's unspoken on TikTok. Every time that I heard, it's just a negativity. These people. Yeah, I have a handful of people, over 1 million, that support you guys. We're not against you. We're here because of y'all. Your success is our success. You know what I'm saying? We're not here for you guys to fail. Your success is our success. African come to America because the image of African America in America. Our monument, when we used to grow up, used to be Michael Jackson, used to be Jordan, used to be Tyson. You can go on and on. This is unspoken on YouTube or TikTok. People always focus on negativity. That's all I wanted to say, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate your support. I really do. All right. I'm praying for the Congo too. I hope you guys, come out of that and everything is great with you guys. I will say we need more of that. We need more of people from the continent who speak out against, because there's a lot of beautiful people in the continent. It's a lot of wonderful people in the continent. Much love and much respect to them. And we need them to speak out against the foolish people, the people who come up here and the people who disrespect us and the people who essentially give you all a bad name, give you all a bad rap. The tether class of the diaspora who give the whole diaspora a bad name. We need the folks who are on code and who not with that nonsense to be very vocal about addressing them and calling them out. So stuff like this is good to hear that you essentially you saw the game, you know what I'm saying, and you came up here and you called that out. So this is what I would hope to see more of.
And like I said,
The only thing I
I
might
will
add, Michael,
advocate.
is that you might go into some of your panels that might be on TikTok
Mhm.
and go on and correct those brothers and sisters who are working against us.
And definitely we will. I'm gonna tell you, I work in my company. I drive a truck. We probably be about 4 African right there out of 120 African American men, right? They respect us, they love us, they help us. We never had any situation bad with our brothers and sisters. Coming to YouTube world, we see this combative fighting between, we don't understand. My entire life, I spent my whole life between African American. They like me, they love me, they help me. On and off, you're gonna have one person that hate on you. This is just one out of the million. But the majority, we're good, we're okay, we love each other, we're helping each other. And as our new generation, as we start going back to Africa, we're gonna advocate a spot for you to know, you know what? If I feel like I can go do something in African 80 country, I'm welcome to come. A lot of people advocate for that. A lot of people have done that. The Mandela, the Kwame Kure, all that. This thing never went away. You have a lot of African brothers that things like that. Brothers and sisters. We just not on those space like that on YouTube. Like you say, we need to advocate this more to make you understand. Look, you have 3 Ghanaian, 5 Nigerian, 2 Congo, whatever Cameroonian. They talk bad about FBA, but it's not us. You know what I'm saying? We are millions that support you. You have
Yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna say I do want to speak on that for a little, but I want to stay on topic because I don't have, I'm definitely not gonna be here too much longer. I might give another like maybe 10 minutes left. But as far as dual citizenship is concerned, what would be very beneficial is if the diaspora, if brothers and sisters in the diaspora said, okay, we want FBA to be able to have dual citizenship, but let's get rid of all the unnecessary red tape, because right now it's a lot of red tape where you gotta really come with the bag, and you gotta come and you gotta subsidize the economy, and you gotta come, and so we don't have this business where we can like really do real good business, because the citizenship is very exploitative when it comes to FBA in Africa. So what we need is brothers like you and brothers and sisters who are on code and who have respect for FBA. Y'all need to be sitting up there like, hey, we need to get rid of this red tape. That way they can come over, they can get land, they can do business, and then we can really get this thing rolling the way we're supposed to. But that might be another conversation. I don't want to get too off track.
Can I say something real quick to that, brother? I'll be
just real quick, and then we'll get to S-bomb.
Okay, because when Malcolm realized, I mean not Malcolm, but when MLK realized his mistake, he said that he feared that he was immigrating his people to a burning house. I feel that we need to quarantine from Africa until they get their stuff together for several generations. We need to stay far away from Africa, and this speaking from a person that lives in Africa. Africa is so political, the mentality. The brother that just spoke can speak the way that he's speaking, but have a whole political agenda. So I feel that that red tape, we can't expect them to do something that they've never done, right? If we're going to do anything outside of the States, we need to do, we got Asia, we got the strongest passport in the world. We can go to Asia and tap in with manufacturers and stuff like that and kind of solve our economic problem. Africa, there's nothing in Africa that can benefit us, to be honest. So with
okay, but let's move past that, because we gonna be on that for, and that's not even a panel right now. We're gonna be on that for a minute. Okay, but we appreciate everybody who got respect for FBA, and we're gonna keep it at that. All right. S-bomb, you get to go ahead.
I, as a person who is part Haitian and a person who has dealt with all aspects of the diaspora, including
wait, let me hold on. You're part Haitian and part FBA. You're half Haitian and half FBA.
Or I consider it Black American. I don't consider it foundational or whatever. I think
it's so hold on. Let me ask you. FBA, the people who they're foundational Black Americans, when this is who you are referring to, or are you referring to somebody else?
I'm referring to Black people who have been here through Southern slave ancestry by way of
that is FBA. That is FBA. You start off wrong. You starting off
Okay, well,
wrong.
I don't consider myself the part of that group because I know that's
It's
what
not a group. It's not a group. The same way Black American is not a group. The same way African American is not a group. It's not a group.
Okay.
So now I'm asking, because you can say, well, I'm part Haitian. That doesn't explain where the other part is. Okay, so I don't want to make no type of assumptions. I don't
Yes,
want you to
if
be
you
all
want
like,
to
yeah,
call
I'm
it,
part Haitian. Hold on. And the reason why I'm asking that is because that can be a little tricky. You can be all like, yeah, I'm part Haitian, and then you know that we'll just assume the other part is FBA. But then you be like, I'm part Haitian and I'm also part Chinese, but I'm gonna leave the Chinese part out.
no,
No,
I am
give us
full
both
black.
your parts. Give us both your parts.
I am full black.
Okay. You're one of your parents is
Both
Haitian,
my
and the
parents,
other
yes,
both your
are
parents were
black.
Haitian.
No, one of my mother's
Okay.
family came from Haiti, and my father is from my father's family. Most came from Ghana.
Okay. Your father's lineage is from Ghana,
Hmm.
and your mother's lineage is from Haiti.
Yes.
Okay, so you're not part FBA, which is why you didn't want to admit to that.
No, I don't. I'm not hiding anything. We traced our roots, and as far as I know, my family descends primarily from Ghana on my father's side. We came through the Southern slave thing, like other people are referring to FBA. I just don't belong to that particular ideology.
Okay.
What year was
If
this,
your
brother?
father, hold on, is if your father is a grenade from Ghana, right?
No,
Your
he was
father's family is from Ghana.
that part of the family. Yeah.
Okay. Your father's part. Y'all see what these people be doing? Your father's
Who is
part
these
is from.
people? I'm black like you are.
No, you're a
I'm
tether. You sounded like a tether. I'm just getting confirmation of that. Okay.
no. I was.
Because if
I was
you
referring-
no, because you're implying something that is
No, I'm not
untrue.
implying.
Okay.
If you would let
You
me finish
implied.
my
Stop it.
sentence.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop. Okay. Because you were saying that your father, you were saying that you're part Haitian. I asked you what the other part is. You said Black American. Then we went back and forth about FBA. Now you're saying you're part Haitian and you're part Ghanaian, right? So that's not Black American or FBA.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's not. No, it's
So
not.
you're telling
And you
me
know
that
it's not. You know
the
that.
black people that are here didn't descend from Africa?
You're Haitian.
The black people that are here didn't descend from Africa. Is that what you're saying?
There was a lot of black people here before the transatlantic slave trade. History proves that. Yeah. So not but anyway, I'm talking about ethnically. Ethnically, you made the implication that your people, your people
No,
are
that's
Black
how you
American.
took it. We are black Americans. We've been here
Okay.
since the
Why did you
1600s.
say? Hold on. If your parents, if your mother or father or whatever, if one of your parents is from Haiti and the other one is from Ghana, why did you only come up and say I'm part Haitian? Why didn't you come up and say I'm part Haitian and part Ghanaian? Because explain, and I know
May
why.
I
I'm gonna explain,
finish?
but go ahead, try.
Okay, if I may finish, I don't think that when I see other black people, I don't necessarily announce my full ethnic ancestry. And when I said my father's side was Ghanaian, um, according to the tracing of the DNA that my family did, our family descends from Ghana. Like some people's family descends from Sierra Leone, some people's family descends from Benin and Togo. I don't understand why you're saying I'm denying being a Black American. My family's been here since the 1600s.
Your family's been here since this. Oh, okay. How has your family been here? Okay, let me ask you this.
My father's side.
When did your father's lineage get here? When did your father's family get to this country?
Somewhere between late 1600s and 17.
Okay, so why are you saying Ghana?
Because that's where they say we came from.
Okay.
He's going all the way back to the absolute.
Do you think
Yeah, so now I'm seeing where he's come. I'm seeing where you're coming from now. I'm seeing where you're coming from. Even though Ghana did not exist back then, But okay, go ahead.
Well,
So
I don't know what they
because
call
his
the.
argument, to let the audience know what your argument is that they're not direct immigrants from Ghana, but he's saying they're Ghanaian because you're tracing your ancestry all the way back,
They came on the
and they're
slave ship.
making the assumption that they were from the land that would later become Ghana. But okay, because that's all the DNA stuff is not confirmation. You can literally look that up. None of the DNA arguments are actual certified confirmation. What they do is they take your DNA and then they make assumptions of where most likely your people would have been. Okay, so none of this stuff is really confirmed. Plus, Ghana did not exist. The land that is called Ghana today was not called Ghana in the 1600s. But let's continue. What is your thing about the prompt? Because we
People are
spent a little bit of
fucking
time with that.
threats.
What did he say before he left? See, that's how
Something that
tethers
was
be. That's how
worthy
tethers be.
of responding to.
That's how tethers be. Okay, and the fact I knew he was on that. I knew he was on that BS when he was like, "Yeah, I don't associate with the FBA group." I'm like, I don't know. And then he said, "Man, notice too. When he was talking about his father's side, he kept saying, yeah, most of my father's side. He didn't say his whole father's side. Okay, because I'm not gonna say most of my family is FBA. All of my father's side is FBA. All of my mother's side is FBA. He was too vague with his lineage, because then he was saying, yeah, most of my. Well, how much is most exactly? So you know what I'm saying. You got to catch that stuff.
Well, I look at it and heard him say he hasn't been Guyanan since the 1600s, but everything in between he just ignored, and I have issues personally with that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we're gonna we about time for us to get this wrapped up. So I'm gonna allow people to have their closing statements or whatever. Mackenzie, I will go to you, but I know you're not here because you ain't been here the whole time. Maybe next time. Cousin, you get to go ahead, give your closing statements, and then we'll go up from the bottom on the other side.
Well, thank you very much again. I must thank you for allowing me to come up and have a few words with you. As I said, I do hold you in great high esteem because I believe what you're doing is moving the family forward. So again, thank you for even allowing me to have a few words on your panel. It does mean a lot. The idea that when it comes to our immigrant brothers and sisters, opportunity has a price. The fact that you don't want to pay the price is irrelevant to FBA. We want our money, and if you get in the way of our money, we're going to steamroll you out of the way. Cut the check, and I'll land with that.
Absolutely. Like the way you put that, cut the check. Black man, you got it.
No, I'll just say when it comes to the jobs, you know, it leaves a void that's is very important for us, and this it goes straight into some of the crime rate or some of the things that we go through because these people are creating the void and then filling them. But with what the brother cousin just said, we let these immigrants or the immigrants come over and they get a green light, a green pass. We need to, if they're from Africa, we need to treat them just like Africa treat us or other Africans, right? Nobody's get their right of passage in Africa, so we should start taxing them. And that's all. They can get the jobs, but we should start taxing them. And people should know what I mean when I say that.
All right. Miss Big Red, you got it.
Yeah, so I just want to say, and I've been sitting here thinking, a lot about. We talked about, a lot of the industries that they seem to be kind of sort of taking over, or they have the corner on or infiltrating, if you will. And I was thinking about, even if you look at what's going on in Hollywood, Like it seems to be sort of like this they're leaning toward, replacing us. Even if you think about, all the people that they're hiring from, Britain and all these other, and even in Africa, certain parts. But I just, the more I think about it, the more I realize how much more serious we need to take this. We need to understand that all of this is. It's almost like a concerted effort to, if they can't replace us, to just bury us under so much that we're no longer relevant as a people, as the special group that we are as FBAs. So again, if nothing else, we need to take this very seriously. These people, like I said, this goes way higher than we could ever imagine. And I really believe that it's a concerted effort. I really do. I feel like this is just another part of our replacement.
That might have to be our next subject. We might have to talk about that because that goes on a lot in entertainment. Okay. It's a lot of very, very talented FBAs who are being overlooked. And the only FBAs you see in Hollywood who are not being overlooked, they have like they've been in the game for decades. I'm talking about those are the Denzel Washingtons and the Viola Davises and stuff like that. Those are the only FBAs that really they have of such a high status they can't really get undercut. But
Right.
then all everybody else really under them they try to get they're being undercut a lot.
Right.
So that might have to be a totally different conversation, but that is a really important point that you brought up.
Yeah, and I was thinking how, people like you said, Viola Davis, she talks about it all the time. Like, if you compare her to like a Meryl Streep, she doesn't get paid anywhere near what Meryl Streep is paid. Same thing with these, immigrants coming in. You can be guaranteed they're not paying them what they would have to pay like an FBA, or even a new person coming into the industry. They would have to pay them. So I feel like I'm wondering if they're we're going backwards while our people are fighting for equal status. Then these other people kind of come in and undercut us. You know what I mean? They're kind of coming in and they'll accept less, so they're going to hire them over us. So it just really needs to be something that we really need to take seriously, and I think we need to talk about it. We really do.
Yeah, yeah, we do. All right, and thank you for that, Michael B.
Yeah, thank you, Afro. I guess you know, on your next panel or whatever you hold a title that African can come and join, express what we feel, the data, because there is a lot of misinformation that needs to come in light, right? That people don't know and people don't have. Like you say, it's going to be a different conversation. Um, because really, with the data, I can tell you, you don't have more than 3 to 4 million African here in the United States. You know, the number is too low from what I hear. People don't have the facts. Like I said, now you have a few bad apple that makes everybody looks bad. So whenever we get the chance, you open the panel and some type of conversation that we can have. And, we're going to bring the true facts, you know.
All right, yeah, we'll definitely be having more of these conversations. We have a lot of different diverse topics,
Definitely.
and I feel like all of our conversations are pretty productive and educational. So, I definitely I encourage you, if you guys have ideas about some good subjects and stuff like that, y'all can feel free to share your ideas, and then I'll determine what we discuss and everything. But we'll definitely be keeping this up. But I'm gonna let our good sister BX close us out. BX, are you there?
She might be
Okay.
doing something else.
Yeah, yeah. She be multitasking, so it's okay. It's all good. I appreciate you guys. If you guys want to listen to the playback, I put this on my YouTube channel, or this, well, not Afro Elite YouTube, but I put this on the For the Culture channel. Okay, so this is on the For the Culture channel. All right, and I have a lot of the playbacks to my TikTok lives and stuff, so you guys get to listen to it. We've had a pretty good conversation. There's a lot of it's a lot of good information, so you guys go listen to that. You guys should be following me because we have these lives and different conversations, a lot of information, clearing up misinformation, talking about history. So you guys definitely want to follow me on here on TikTok, and you guys can pretty much follow me, Afro Elite, on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all of that stuff. Okay, so we can keep the information going forward. And I appreciate all of the people. I appreciate all of y'all gifts. I appreciate all of the people listening. I appreciate every single last one of you all. Thank you guys very much. All of the people who are new followers, thank you all very much. You all have a good night.